and thank you for joining this webinar on the PropTech Innovation Challenge. So today, the webinar will be co-hosted by myself, Isabelle Châtel de Boncion. I'm an architect and I'm business and innovation lead for Geovation, and by Lou.
Thanks, Isabelle. I'm Lou.
Yeah.
I'm Joint Head of PropTech at the Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Government.
Thanks, Lou. Lou, do you want to give us a little bit of the background and the context?
Thanks, Isabelle. Yeah, absolutely happy to. And I have lovely colleagues alongside me on the call today who haven't been acknowledged but are here and can help answer some questions. So, it's a fantastic moment for us as a team and as a programme and as a partnership to come together and announce this challenge today. As you can see, and as you've hopefully seen from some of the comms that we've shared already, this is a very exciting moment for us to actually demonstrate the power of PropTech downstream, focused on housing delivery, and it really serves as a way for us to broaden the scope of the PropTech Innovation Fund that I'll tell you a little bit more about in a second, to show that digital and data really can play a role in solving parts of this very complex kind of housing delivery process, which you recognise will need a lot of other levers and interventions to support it as well. But it's really crucial as part of this challenge that we show and scale solutions that can help support that accelerated housing delivery. So I think through this kind of collective ambition that we have with Geovation, we're really trying to partner directly with the sector and with yourselves as innovators to show and really prove how we can challenge the status quo for how homes can be delivered faster and higher quality, and how that can support our broad government missions around 1.5 million homes, which we know is a kind of North Star for us across our area here. So it's exciting to be able to galvanise people behind that challenge, and there'll be more problem statements to come as Isabelle will talk about to give added specificity to that problem. I'll tell you a little bit more about the evolution of where this challenge has come from and the fund work we've been doing in our team here at the Ministry of Housing. So in 2021, we launched this thing called the PropTech Innovation Fund, which some of you may or may not be familiar with. And it was really launched to support the widespread adoption of digital citizen engagement tools that can help transform community involvement in planning. And our approach to start with has been to use that fund to really provide a delivery vehicle for government to test and prove the power of innovation, and test it kind of in the wild in real environments with local government and partners, and provide kind of greater choice and value for money to the sector by creating those solutions and growing a supply side ecosystem around those products. So we started off in that world in round one of digital citizen engagement, and since then we have not just worked across 114 pilots, 77 local authorities, 50 PropTech companies and 10 universities. We've also really grown the scope of the fund itself. So we've tried to follow as much as we can the demand that's emerging in the market for PropTech in lots of different parts of planning and housing, not just citizen engagement. So to date, we've piloted things across 3D visualization, across biodiversity net gain, infrastructure, and many, many other areas that we get very excited about in the fund. And I think what that speaks to is not just the demand for these types of tools in planning and housing, but also the amazing kind of PropTech sector that we have in the UK and its potential to support a lot of those policy ambitions that exist across government and within the sector to deliver more homes. So we're very excited that Geovation are here with us in this new challenge, which forms kind of what you see here as round 5, to help us work more directly with the sector to explore how PropTech can help us co-design solutions for housing delivery, which form, I suppose, a kind of further downstream part of what we haven't explored yet. On the next slide, Isabelle, I've just tried to highlight the type of evidence that we've been generating through the fund to date and the kind of evidence that we're going to be wanting to generate from this challenge moving forwards to really show the importance of PropTech in housing. So across all of those processes, whether it's been kind of site assessment, plan making or others, you can see that we've generated kind of real value and ROI evidence, which we think kind of helps support broader sector adoption of this because it helps justify investment and further adoption of this tech. So some of the stats here show, up to 6-month reductions in local plan making, up to 200% increase in community engagement, around 40% increase in positive sentiment towards new development, which I think is where I get really excited because that's where you're starting to see development processes really being de-risked and accelerated moving forwards. So I think the evidence here shows that PropTech clearly has a very, very important role to play in lots of parts of the planning and housing processes. And our kind of challenge now is to see how we can go further, to see how we can really focus in on the downstream parts of this process where how homes and houses are being delivered for the people that need them, and to show that PropTech can accelerate and provide the same efficiencies as it has done in these processes further downstream. And the more we can prove that ROI, the more we can support greater confidence from the sector to invest in these tools, particularly the private development industry. Just on the next slide, Isabel, we wanted to touch a bit together on the aims of this challenge, having seen that context of where we've been with the fund and why we're looking to develop this challenge as it is now. So scale, I think, has probably been our word of the day or word of the year for many, many rounds of this fund to date. It's very, very important to us that we provide solutions that are scalable. And by that, I suppose we mean that are designed with the users in mind, that are designed and tested in genuine kind of live environments, and that have legacy beyond the funding that they're provided with, and creating blueprints that allow others to do the same and to adopt PropTech is a very important part of this challenge and of our work more generally. So that really is a core pillar that we want to emphasize as part of this challenge. Accelerating PropTech market adoption is something I've touched on already, but I think it's worth emphasizing that the point of funding these brilliant tools to be created is to galvanize the industry and to create a real groundswell and a movement for this and for PropTech to be part of BAU in terms of how we operate as an industry, and that's both public and private sector. So we think that this can be a really exciting moment to and a watershed moment to help drive the sector to adopt more of these tools. A third point here is around our digital planning objectives. So our PropTech team in the Ministry of Housing sits within the digital planning programme, which is founded on the principles of creating a modern planning system and bringing the planning system into the 21st century. That provides us with a brilliant kind of North Star and ambition, but it also provides us with great tools and platforms to continue building on. So, for example, our planning data platform, which exists as part of the digital planning programme, provides kind of trustworthy data that people and industry are encouraged to build on. So part of this challenge will be asking people to, where possible, look at and use that planning data platform to build solutions off of, so that we can encourage a kind of open, interoperable data environment where many other people can benefit from. On the final slide on this challenge aims piece, Isabel, there's two last things we wanted to talk about. One of them is partnership, which I think all of you will be very aware of in terms of how important that is to driving change in this industry, particularly when we're challenging the status quo. It's always been a part of how we've run the fund to date, but we're doing things differently this time in the sense of funding innovators directly rather than local government. So we want to emphasise that we still see local government and industry partners as a very, very important part of how we co-design these solutions and the endpoint we get to. We will be building in times for people to be able to kind of express their interest to be involved as partners in this work as we move through the next kind of 6 to 8 weeks. So please do look out for those. And we really also encourage kind of joint applications between innovators, local government, or other partners that they might be able to test with. So using partnership as a way to stress test things, as a way to galvanize people, and as a way to kind of co-design those solutions, I think is a core part of what we're looking for here. And we'll provide some of that infrastructure to create those partnerships along the way as well. And finally, increasing the capacity of the tech market to respond to the demand that we're seeing, I think, is an important part of our work. So earlier this year, we published the Opportunity for PropTech report in collaboration with the UK PropTech Association, and that really demonstrated the very exciting capacity and opportunity that the PropTech sector has in this country to grow and really be a global powerhouse. But I think we are here to try and provide that support where the PropTech sector is exploring and creating solutions in new environments or new ecosystems. And we hope that the kind of support that this programme will provide will help the sector to really thrive in new areas and respond to the demand that we're generating further upstream. So I suppose those are our kind of core 5 aims, which are featured all on that website that you've seen already, probably around the challenge. And on the next slide, we've kind of brought all of that together into what we're ultimately looking for from innovators and from applications, with the expression of interest process being open at the moment. So I think innovation is something that's probably come through very clearly from what I've spoken about to date. But it's safe to say we're very much looking for how we can challenge the status quo in these housing delivery processes and fundamentally speed up the delivery of homes, which is something we're very, very keen to prove in terms of efficiencies and more homes coming through the system. So we really see value in thinking outside the box. I think we've seen that in the fund to date by being put in a hot air balloon in Cornwall through a VR experience, that thinking differently can lead to some exciting outcomes. So yeah, we'd really encourage interesting and innovative ideas. But the solutions obviously don't have to be just innovative. They also need to move at scale. And I appreciate that's a challenge we're asking of people, which is to move at pace, to be able to scale and to be innovative at the same time. So we're looking for these products to be delivered, as Isabel will talk about in a bit, in quite a short time frame. And that obviously has its challenges, but is also an exciting moment for us to provide the support through this challenge to help innovators get there. So we will be really asking for that speed and for that scale in terms of how these solutions can be taken outside of a challenge environment and replicated elsewhere or adopted elsewhere. We've also got a point on problem solving here. Isabel will talk a little bit about this, but we're going to have some very, very clear problem statements to help guide this more broad kind of how do we accelerate housing statement, which is obviously a North Star, but needs more flesh to the bone. When people apply, we'll be asking them to kind of select and apply against those problem statements. And it's an exciting chance, I think, to be really focused in our work and really focused in how we bring partners in at the right time and use real live housing environments that are facing that particular challenge to test in quickly at scale. So I think that's an exciting way to be working. Long-term sustainability, I suppose, links a bit into the scale piece. I think for us, this is really about making sure that there is a lifetime beyond the funding for these solutions. And that's something we've worked a lot on with the fund and the PropTech Innovation Fund's operation to date. How do we create environments where these solutions can thrive afterwards? And I think, Isabel, it's safe to say we'll be wanting to see that long-term thinking and how these solutions are developed and how they can be sustained moving forwards. Market awareness and interoperability is another one we wanted to raise, in the sense that we think it's important that we acknowledge the market may already have some solutions or ideas that exist out there already that we need to plug into or leverage or consider when we're building these new solutions. So we're not about duplicating, we're trying to use as much as we can already, and that crosses over with data as well. I mentioned the planning data platform earlier. So how can we use and integrate with as much of what is already in the market as possible, so that we can move at pace and bring people along the journey with us rather than duplicating or slowing ourselves down along the process. Efficiency is obviously very important to us, and that links to the evidence that we have built and shown you earlier in these slides. So how do we genuinely prove that these solutions can tangibly speed up that housing delivery process? And we will be very kind of demanding in terms of how we collect evidence. We want to be able to prove those numbers at the end of it, and that is how we generate the important pieces of ROI that will eventually encourage others to adopt these tools. So monitoring and evaluation and demonstrating efficiencies are going to be a core part of what we expect from these solutions in terms of monitoring. And finally, that links into quantifiable evidence. So we really want to support and provide the frameworks to monitor those solutions, but to do so, we need the right data to do that, and we'll expect successful applicants to work with us to harvest that data and to help share it in very compelling ways to tell the stories around why this stuff matters. I think that's it from me, which I hope shows you the kind of ambition we have here. I think the last thing I'll say is that it is a very exciting moment. This is not just a shift for the fund and the work we've been doing as a team, but a shift for how we work on a missions basis as a government. And I think that's a really exciting time to bring together people across the industry to have that North Star together, to prove that PropTech can be a golden thread across many of these processes, and to show why other people should be doing the same. So thanks for being here and listening and being part of the journey, and we're excited to see it evolve.
Thank you, Lou. Thank you very much. So now I'm going to take you through the kind of nitty-gritty and the process of what we're doing and how we want you to be involved. We are going to select up to 12 companies, and the idea is that you will have the opportunity to share up to 1.2 million pounds to develop solutions. It's a very short process, as Lou mentioned, but we're really expecting delivery of tangible outcome. Eligibility, we're looking for UK registered company only. It's important. So if you're not a UK registered company, no point in applying. We will not consider you. However, we are really interested in collaboration as well. So you can work with as a joint venture. You can work with different partnerships. We're really looking at solutions that can be embedded into reality. That's why we really welcome any applications where there is a local authority or an industry partner or housing developer. Is really about the embedding any solution into the reality and in test bed. The process, so as you know, and the reason you're here is because the expression of interest is out now. So you have until the 30th of April to apply on the website. It's quite a simple process to apply. And while you do that, and for the past few weeks, we are working on market engagement. What we are trying to understand is and work on is really understand what are the problem statements we want to work on and what are the main elements and problem statements that we will push out at the end of April and beginning of May for you to respond to. So we welcome anyone who wants to engage with us on that. So if you have a lot of knowledge and understanding of blockers, please do reach out to us. But we also want you to apply in the expression of interest. Beginning of May, we will publish the problem statements, and you can apply against one problem statement or several problem statements. You cannot do several applications for one problem statement. There will be then a selection process and a boot camp, and the boot camp will be happening in July, 15th and 16th of July, depending on the problem statement and depending on whether you're selected. You will be asked to join the bootcamp. The bootcamp is really to test out your submission and your proposal, to literally push it and understand how comfortable, how viable, how much of the financial and the work packages you've really understood and developed and how do you want to deliver. As Lou mentioned, we're really keen to have ROI and really kind of a impact, short-term, mid-term, long-term. So we really need to work on these impact and how we can demonstrate the impact. And then there's obviously for those who are selected, contract in place, and the project that will last from August to February. So it's a really short time scale, but we expect you and the selected and the winners to be able to deliver within that time scale something that creates an impact and how we can measure that impact. End of the project in February 26th, and a big celebration to celebrate how much has been achieved and really also celebrate PropTech as a whole and how much impact can be delivered through PropTech. So as I mentioned, we are on expression of interest now. We are doing market research, and we will narrow down to a number of problem statements, up to 5. So please do make sure you apply and register your interest, and that you are, and reach out to us if you have any insights that you want to share with us. Now on to Q&A. So if you have any questions, please raise your hand and ask your question. Okay. Yeah, Matthias. Matthias.
Yeah, I'm Matías Acosta from Consistent. My question is whether we need to know the partners in this pre-application period, or we could consolidate those partners if we move towards the full application.
You don't need to know the partner straight away. You can apply with a partner in the full application. The full application window is quite short, so you need to be prepared. It's the window from 8th of May to the 15th of June, so it's just over a month time. So although now it's quite a light touch application for the expression of interest, the full application will be more akin to a Innovate grant type application with questions that will span obviously the proposal, but also financials, work packages, and impact. Jason?
Just a couple of questions with regards to the registration requirement. Will you accept sort of partnerships or collaborations where of course, the primary partner is UK registered, but it might include international partners as well?
Yes, it depends on how it's structured, but it has to be mainly UK focused.
Okay. And just a follow-up question, I wasn't very clear in terms of the scope, and maybe that'll become evident when you have the sort of themes coming out. But is this mostly pre-construction technology around planning, etc.? Does it include what we would say maybe construct tech technologies that will help to speed up and simplify construction? Where sort of in the stream does this fall?
So you're right. We will. It will become clearer as the problem statements are pushed out. But it's generally pre-construction. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
It's a Pratik. Sorry if I don't pronounce your name properly.
So coming to the application process of expression of interest. Probably I was a bit too fast and already submitted the interest, but my understanding was at the moment we are not really focusing on any particular solution, but rather the interest and capability, and that's the way I had handled the application, and probably any specific solutions we would keep or park for the challenge time, right? Is that understanding correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. All right. Yeah, the other questions probably have already been answered. So thank you very much.
No worries. Atik, then.
Okay, so thank you very much. So can a private company limited by guarantee without share capital can apply?
Is it a UK registered company?
Yeah, UK registered company, but the type is private company limited by guarantee without share capital. So it's not a business, it's just like a, what do you call, like NPO type or something. So the type according to the, UK government, this is the company type is private company limited by guarantee without share capital.
Okay,
So,
I will have to come back to you on that.
I email you, that would be nice. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So this is one, and we can involve the university as a co-I or co-partner, university
Absolutely.
professors or others.
Absolutely.
Okay, great. But the main applicant is the company, but university will be part of that. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you very much indeed.
What is really important is we want these solutions to be sustainable in the long term. When we say sustainable, is that they need to be able to live and sustain themselves, e.g., generate revenues in the short to mid term and obviously long term. So it's not about developing a piece of research, or it's not about developing something that in abstract. It's really about developing something that will generate value, impact, and will be able to sustain itself in the long term. Mohammed?
Hi, yeah, thanks, Mohammed from Grid. I was just having a look at the website again, and so it's kind of project-specific funding. My questions are, one of them is, if we have a project that couldn't be 100% funded, but we, are we within our means, because we work with, say, housing development, if we could fund part of the solar systems with this funding, is that still make it eligible, or is it more likely that it's better to have a project where it's 100% funding for that project and it's a smaller project rather than part funded by this fund?
How would the second part be funded?
Like with our private capital.
Okay. I think it's important for the grant to be and the money would need to have an impact and be able to be used to develop something that would not be developed if you didn't have the money. So does that make sense? So it's really important that it is an enabler for a solution that would not be developed otherwise.
Yeah, no, okay, I think that's fair, and that's probably where the people that we choose as partners for this, if they wouldn't otherwise have been able to access this, would make more sense. My only other question is, given that it's project focused, are applications downvoted if we don't have a kind of a clear partner, like a local authority or developer or project, but that it's going to go to one that we're kind of working through at the moment?
I wouldn't say they're downvoted. I think if you have one, it's upvoted in a way.
Okay.
So it's not. I think it depends really on the solution, but we would really favor joint application or applications that have got a test bed or a place to start flourishing immediately.
Perfect. All right, thank you.
Nigel?
Hello. I actually think my question's probably been answered, but I was going to ask how we can entice a council to be on our a group of stakeholders in a project. But we've got a council that we're currently trying to convince to do a project with us that absolutely fits the bill for this brief. So, but I think from what you're saying, we have really till the end of June to bring them on board. I think I just need to go away and do that. Thank you.
No worries. Thank you, Nigel.
It's worth saying as well, Nigel, just to cut in, sorry, that we are very much intending to kind of gather as much interest as we can from local authorities on our side. So from our work in the PropTech Innovation Fund to date, we've worked with over 100 local authorities, and we kind of very much intend to gather interests from them, and we're already starting to do that in terms of who might be an engaged partner and who might want to help co-design some of these solutions. I'm not saying that they'll obviously procure the solution itself, but they'll be there potentially to provide user testing, or, as Isabel said, the environments that we might be able to test in through a kind of partnership approach. So you're not on your own in this, is what I'm trying to say. And
that's a big help, actually, just knowing that. It's a large city council who hasn't yet engaged with your planning fund. We've been kind of pushing them to say, if you do that, can we do a slightly funky different thing with logbooks? And we want to work with you. So the early engagement has started, but so it's brilliant that this kind of builds on and grows from what you've already done with the councils, because what we want to do is an extension and something funky and interesting, which again builds on what you've previously done. So I need to go away and get my best kind of enticing voice on and see if we can bring them in.
And I think to that point, we're here to help, and we're really keen to have a project that and solutions that deliver value. So it's not about handing out money and you building on the side, and then we come back to you at the end of the project. We want to work with you along the way. Geovation is here to help you along the way. So we will have obviously regular calls, stand up. We have a tech team that is there to help. We're also here to facilitate and help in any kind of a engagement possible. So we want those solutions to be successful, and that's what we will be doing through the project. Zach?
Good morning. Thank you very much. I'll just try and run through these quickly. I know it's PropTech, but to what extent are you interested on transport, infrastructure, services when one is thinking about housing planning and the supporting infrastructure to make a new housing development or even refitting an old one a success? Is that within the realm, the scope?
I think it's a great question, and it speaks to the fact that this is a very kind of holistic challenge, right? And has so many different arms to it. Our MO is going to be at the end being able to prove that that solution has accelerated housing delivery, right? So whatever helps us do that is within scope, and the problem statements will help guide that. So if you feel that there's a problem statement that resonates with one of those challenges, I think go for it. Ultimately, what we care about is proving that PropTech can be a golden thread for housing delivery. So it's, as long as downstream we're showing that we're speeding up the delivery of more homes for people, that's the end goal. So linking it to that is going to be key in any application, I think.
Okay, very good. We worked with LAs, PTAs, research institutes, and the DFT. We have a PTA, a public transit authority, in mind. The realm that they cover is about to see quite a lot of new development. There is an interest around optimizing mode shift as much as there is infrastructure to support the fairly big changes that are about to happen. That's the kind of sort of headspace we're thinking about when we think about this. And when we're thinking about what might something look like, we're interested in producing a modeling and planning tool set that integrates multimodal transport habits of people when one is thinking about new housing planning. And for that to be a tool set that would be reusable by anyone across the UK, whether they be a PTA or a local authority or a policymaker or a private entity. Does that sound within the realm of what you are thinking or looking for?
We're going to have to assess, obviously, on a case-by-case basis, particularly against the problem statements when they're published. But I would encourage you just to try and link it as closely as possible to that downstream area of housing delivery. So, of course, like infrastructure is either a huge blocker or a huge facilitator of some of the biggest housing developments in this country. So the more we can speed up, quality infrastructure delivery, the more we can speed up the homes. But that link's got to be there, and how you're going to measure it's got to be there. So that will be a key part of the application. Isabel, feel free to add anything else I've missed there.
No, I think it's once the problem statements are out, you will be able to see how close or not you are to the problem statement. So it's difficult, and we can't tell you it's impossible for us to tell you anything now. But yeah, keep an eye on what's happening.
Final question: if we have a sorry, I beg your pardon. If we have a LA or PTA, we have someone in mind who could contribute to your challenge statement and market research. Should we guide them your way?
Yeah, absolutely.
Super. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Habs?
Hi, Isabel and Lou. Thank you for taking us through. Very exciting. Be great to hear a bit more about how you're going to come up with the problem statements and what your process will be to get there.
Well, we're doing primary and secondary research on understanding the blockers, looking at all the stakeholders on the value chain from site identification to delivery, and extracting from them the blockers that, or the main blockers. Out of that, we look at which blockers have got can be solved by tech solutions, because not everything is solvable by tech. That's one thing. And second is how much can be solved by tech solutions that can then be market facing and therefore have a sustainable solution. We're not looking at solutions that will need grant funding throughout forever and ever. It's not what we're looking for. We want solutions that will be purchased by the market as, once that they've proven their value. Lou, do you want to add anything to?
Yeah, there's lots of angles to it, aren't there? And partly it's internal, Habs, in the sense that it's engaging with our policy colleagues internally and understanding what are some of the biggest priorities and blockers to housing delivery on the policy side in government. Equally, as Isabel says, undertaking detailed kind of interviews and research with the market at lots of different stages and perspectives across, people delivering the homes themselves, people building them, people further upstream, local authorities, tech partners. It's broad ranging, and Isabel's got a big task on her hand there to pull it all together, and also the research to go alongside that to back it up. So that is something that Geovation are leading on, and we hope to kind of publish as much of the how we got to those problem statements as possible, rather than just saying here's the statement itself and you can't see how we got there, because I think some of that evidence is going to help inform the solutions and understanding of the barrier itself. So we also very much welcome anyone on this call to come forward with evidence or perspectives on where they see the biggest barriers, because that's part of the work we're doing now is mining all of that information. So you're all here because you're engaged and probably have expertise that we don't in some of these areas. So I'd really welcome anyway people to submit evidence they have that will help inform that, or that they'd like to see included. I might regret that once our email inboxes are overflowing, but it's still really helpful.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Sad?
So I think my question was answered in the chat, but I just wanted to confirm that if you need to be registered as a UK company by the expression of interest stage, or can you be registered after that?
As I said, eligibility is for registered company, so yes, you have to be a registered company.
For the expression of interest stage, okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
No worries. Matthias, again, another question.
Hi, yes, sorry. Just to make absolutely sure I understood. So this is only for planning, not operations like energy efficiency or these type of things, right?
It's to accelerate the delivery of 1.5 million homes. So it's not about, if you're referring to something like retrofit, it's not about that. It's really about the delivery of the new the housing.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Paul? Oh, yeah, Paul.
Yeah, just in terms of the blockers, obviously a large kind of percentage of the delivery area for the housing delivery will be local government, and it's going through some significant changes in terms of reorganisation over the next sort of 18, 24 months. There's quite a lot of planning services being split up. Now I see that probably as being the one fundamental challenge to both continuation and delivery of local plans, but also actually housing delivery itself. How are, I suppose, you guys engaging with that kind of real chaos that's happening, that essentially we'll see quite a lot of senior kind of local government people be moved over into sort of devolution programs and LGR programs rather than being committed to sort of housing delivery? Is that something that has been considered, and how has that been engaged with, I suppose?
Yeah, it's a great question, Paul, and I can cover a little bit from my side. I think that is part of why we're engaging so heavily at the moment and for the next kind of however many months with local authorities on this. So, through the Open Digital Planning Programme, we have that community of however many local authorities, many of whom, I can't remember the percentage, are affected by the changes that you're speaking about now. And so by testing some of these problem statements with them, it will help us to say, does this resonate? Will this problem statement not exist in 6 months' time or however long? And how will it change and shift? And so that's why we really can't do this challenge programme without them as a core stakeholder, even though the money isn't going straight to local government through the model. So I think my answer would just be engaging as closely as we can with them and with internal colleagues who are working on this day in, day out. So the engagement that's happening internally is something that's not seen here, but it is there. And policy colleagues are kind of almost as a kind of advisory group on this, galvanized behind how we judge the solutions and how we form the problem statements. And so colleagues working in those worlds are also involved from their side, if that provides any reassurance. But you're right, it's a moving feast that we're going to need to stay on top of.
And I suppose the response to that, I think it's useful. Obviously, I know you guys work really hard in this space to do that engagement. I know that there is always a kind of view from MHCLG that there should be a kind of consistent and blanket approach, giving opportunity to all areas. But is there not an argument to say that actually testing in areas that are stable, so existing unitary councils that aren't going to be going under any change, or areas that have got much less churn in terms of that, are going to be much more effective for a test and learn environment where you could create and build something that then could be scaled for fast followers who are then doing that unitarization program and then could help do that? Is that something that you're considering?
Yeah, potentially. I think Homes England as a partner in this is an important other entity to mention, because, you know, conversations with them in terms of how we use their kind of major projects that are happening at the moment as real test beds. But as you say, I think it's going to be having to balance like the engaged local authorities who come forward wanting to be involved in this, wanting to partner, with where the kind of crunchiest potential is for housing delivery and acceleration of that, and you know what the solutions might be that come forward. So there's a few things to balance, and I can't guarantee where we might play at this point, but that's definitely a factor that we'll be balancing against some of the others. And, you know, there's an argument that we've already got this engaged community, and do we need to engage more with local government that we haven't ever spoken to or haven't ever worked with? And there's arguments either way, isn't there? So yeah, we're trying to balance those nuances. But is there anything you'd add, Isabel, to that?
No, I think you've covered. I think we're trying to make sure again that we're enabling solutions that will generate value and will have a positive impact in the short term. So we need to be quite careful and constructive on how we select them and the type of partnership that will be able to work and deliver over that short amount of time. Hence, probably more geared towards LPAs that are not in the chaos you mentioned. Great. So please do register your interest and do reach out if you have any, if you want to share any evidence, or if you want us to, have more of an interview with you on blockers that you might have come across and have understood through the process. We're really keen to have exciting and innovative solutions, but again, as I mentioned, it's about impact and it's about sustainability in the long term. So please do bear that in mind. We are available for any questions, so you can use the challenge at geovation.uk as the generic inbox, and we welcome any feedback on the session today, which is more generic feedback, not on the project itself, but on the session. Thank you very much for your time. As mentioned earlier on, today has been recorded. We will edit it and put it on YouTube, so you will be able to have access to this session later on, and we welcome all your applications. Thank you very much. And thanks you, Lou, everyone, for being here. And Alfie, sorry, I forgot to, mention, but Alfie is a key part of the project from MHCLG. I don't know where you are, Alfie. I can't see you anymore, but
thanks for joining.
Thank you.
See you
Thank
soon.
you.
Bye, guys.